Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors, where we use real-world information to help you decode the craft and business of writing. This episode, we're going to talk about the OBFN.
The OBFN. That's something.
OBFN.
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 OBFN. OBFN stands for Obligatory Bad First Novel. And this is something I talk about pretty much in every writing workshop that I do. And it is not, this is important, it is not that your first novel is going to be bad at all. It is that, it is kind of to take the pressure away. Virtually every writer we know, every published author we know has one or more what they call trunk novels. In other words, a book that's sitting in the trunk at home.
I have a big trunk.
Same here. So we talk about that. It's just the idea being that don't put a bunch of pressure on yourself that the very first thing you ever write has to be great and has to be published. It has to be successful, whatever your version of success is. That kind of stress, no one needs that kind of stress. It's partly a product of the internet because you get some FOMO and you're trying to keep up with all your thousands of friends on social media. Who it seems like at least one of them is getting published every day or has some kind of news or gets a full request or something like that. So the idea being that your first novel, whether it gets published or not, if it gets published or is wildly successful, if you happen to self-publish it, good for you. But if not, that's not a bad thing. That's not failure. There are so many benefits to the early work that you do, regardless of any kind of external result, that no matter what, it is absolutely worth doing.
It's not the norm for a person's first novel to get picked up. So if you feel like Mark was saying about having FOMO, because it seems like everyone around you is finding success, but you're not, I want you to take a step back and just look at this differently. I want you to think more about that writing is a joy in your life that you want to go to every day if you can. Writing is something you do because you love to do it, because that is the path that's going to get you published. And the process of that path will also create a better writer in you. And I think that a main thing that you can do for yourself is to become a finisher. So if you have started a novel and maybe you've had several false starts, there's that huge excitement at the beginning. You have an idea for a book, and then you think you know how it's going to end, and then you write, I don't know, 50 pages, and all of a sudden you're stuck. So a lot of people will put it aside, or they'll be discouraged, or they'll get another idea, and they'll be all gung-ho about the other idea, and they'll get going on that, and then they let it drop.
It's that shiny new thing syndrome.
Shiny new thing, exactly. It's a new idea that you're excited about. But really, what's going to make you successful is becoming a finisher. It is so important for you to get yourself to the end of a novel, because that will teach you how to do that.
Sometimes I ask people, if you have half a dozen unfinished novels, how many novels do you have?
Yeah,
the answer is zero. You have 0 novels. With my OBFN, which is kind of how I first kind of was introduced to this concept, was through the painful lesson of self-discovery. I was working on a book, and I was maybe halfway through, and it was long. It ended up being over 500 pages, with several different viewpoint characters and very complicated third-person sprawling story. It's probably not the best thing to be someone's first effort. But I was about halfway done and I ran out of gas. I had already outlined the entire thing, and the writing of it, therefore, there's not a lot of discovery in the actual writing. And about halfway through, I just lost interest and lost energy, and I let it sit for months and months, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll write something else, I'll do something else. Then this idea kind of crept into my brain, which was, if I don't finish this, I'm never going to finish anything. And I just need to see it through to the end, no matter what. So I forced myself to finish it, and then did what most, especially back then, most early writers do, which is basically spell check it, have somebody else read it, give you the thumbs up, and then you say, okay, it's good. That's your idea of editing.
But still, getting to the end of it is a goal in and of itself. It's it's a hard goal, but it's a goal that's worth achieving in that it gives you the feeling that you made it, that you did it. It's kind of like running a marathon, which we won't get into that. But when you think about running a marathon, there's the whole training for it, and then you get to the starting line, and maybe you hit that wall, that proverbial wall, which really does exist, and you just feel like stopping. It's just too hard. You just don't see the end in sight. You can't imagine yourself anymore getting to it. But if you can make it over the finish line of a marathon, you are empowered with this feeling like, I can do anything. And the same thing applies to getting to the end of your novel. Even if you're just crawling your way over that finish line, it doesn't matter. It's like you made it.
You made it.
The medal that you get in your heart from that is enough to make you understand or realize or feel in your core that I can do this.
100%.
So the next time you start training for a marathon, you know what to expect.
The other way that writing a novel is like a marathon, besides being long and 1,000 steps and all those cliches we all know, is that the conventional wisdom, which I think is true, is that with a marathon, with an actual marathon, is that it takes you 2 or 3 before you know what the heck you're doing. And so, the same with writing a novel. The first time you go through,
Don't be discouraged by that.
No, not at all, not at all. But the first time I went through, like I said, my OBFN, I made myself finish it, and there's a whole story behind this. But the punchline is that I got an agent with it, and he shopped it, and we had some close calls, and he didn't sell it, and it kind of broke my heart. But in retrospect, I'm super glad it never got published. It really wasn't that good, and I learned, and this is really the point. I learned so much from doing that. I learned what it actually takes to write a book. Once you've done it once, you know you can do it again.
And it's not a waste of time. So maybe your first novel will get picked up. Maybe some brilliant thing that is going to get picked up. But again, if you reset your thinking about the importance of getting it published, if you look at it instead as being, this is part of the joy of your life where you get to write. And if it gets picked up, that's wonderful. But if it doesn't, it has given you all this experience, which you can then apply to your next project. And also, when you have trunk novels, which everyone
has them.
Yes. You can revisit your trunk. It's like going through the attic. You can go through and go, oh, this was a great idea. But then maybe you have other ideas for it. And then you can take that and turn it into something else. I've taken ideas from my trunk novels and I've put them, I've applied them to books that got published. So none of it's a waste. Anything you write is not a waste.
It's all good for you. All exercise is good for you.
It can be painful,
but it's good for you. In other words, no writing is wasted. All writing is good. So it's all absolutely a productive part of the process.
Like having a cup of coffee with us. So thanks for joining us for Coffee with the Authors. So we hope you've gotten something useful or inspirational from this that'll help you further on your writing journey. And please like, share, and subscribe to help keep us going. And we hope to see you next time. Meanwhile, dream big, work hard, don't give up.
And keep writing.
See you next time. I can't believe you said that. Oh well.
Oh well.